じゃあ、OK. Let's start. So, 벨브さん, 마스코타바타 미나오렌, 리오타, 세키모토 ここからは、ちょっと日本語で、自己紹介させてください。関本竜太と申します。はじめまして。あの、今回のインタビューとても楽しみにしてました。どうもありがとうございます。
Hi, I'm Natsumi. I'm beside of him and translating between Japanese and English. And introduction is a hi, I'm Ryota Sekimoto, and I've been looking forward to talk to you today.
Could you hear that?
Yes, nice to
Yeah.
meet you. I'm Virpi. I'm right now in Helsinki, in Finland. I was 2 weeks ago in Japan, which was wonderful to have the Aalto film tour there. And it's lovely to be in this interview again, because since my trip, I've missed so much being in Japan. I fell in love with Japan.
いや、日本にね、来ていただいて、なんか楽しんでいただいたようで、どうも、こちらも嬉しく思います。私は、2000年から2001年にかけて、小谷恵美のヘルシンキ工科大学で、留学をしていまして、アールトの、キャンパスで、勉強してました。で、アールトのことが今でもとても、好きな建築家の一人です。
So from 2000 to 2001, he went to the school, the University of Technology, Helsinki, now currently Aalto University. And he been studied about Aalto, and then since then he been a big fan of him.
で、最初に今回の、インタビューにあたって、最初に私映画のちょっとこの感想をお伝えしたいと思うんですけど、私はこの試写会と、映画館を含めて、もうすでに3回ぐらい、映画を、見ているんですね。
So to begin in the interview, I would like to tell you the impression and then the feelings after I watched this movie 3 times already.
で、3回も見てるんですけど、毎回、発見がありまして、3回ともこう違う映画のようにこう感じるというか、なんか非常にこう、興味深い、映画だなというふうに思っています。
Each time I watch this movie, I get the different feelings from the movie, and it seems like a different movie, and that's the very interesting part about this movie to me.
で、私にとって一番今回の映画で、驚いたというか感動したのは、動くアールトが見れたこと、そして喋るアールトが見れたこと、もうなんか歴史上の、なんか人物のように思っていたアールトが、スクリーンの中で動いたり喋ったり、しているのを、聞けたことが本当に僕にとっては、嬉しかったことで、例えて言うと、ナポレオンが、動いて喋ってるみたいな、そういう感覚がありました。
The more surprising part about this movie was he was actually moving and talking in this movie, and I never heard or seen him talking as a real person. For me, it's been like a historical person in the past, like Napoleon. So it's very interesting to see him actually talking and moving.
あの、ビルピーさんも、この映画のこのいろんな膨大な、アーカイブというか、情報を集めていく中で、アールトのその、非常にこのパーソナリティに触れられたことで、すごく発想が広がったと思うんですが、あの、ビルピさんもあらかじめ思っていたアールトと、この映画を通し、作る中で感じたアールトの人物像の違いみたいなものはお感じになったりしましたか？
So here's the question from me. Uh, I can imagine you correct a lot of information about articles to make this movie. But so in the process of gathering the information, what's the differences of how you imagine about him and then how you actually learn about him?
Well, that's a very interesting question.
いや、面白い。
Yes. Well, first of all, it was a very long process because I'm not an architect. I'm a filmmaker. I've been making films about 30 years, but never a film about architecture. Even though architecture has played a role in my films, because I've always considered the space where life is happening as one character in my film. So it's a very complex, very intuitive process, but also a process with very deep and long research. Maybe you can translate and then I will continue. Will you translate my answers as well?
はい、Yes.
Okay.
このプロセスっていうのはすごく深くて長いもので、で、建設に関しては私は今まで関わってこなかったのですが、やはり映画とか映像作品を作るにあたってスペースとか建築っていうのはすごく関わりが密接にあるので、まあ、関係がないので実はとても親密な関係性が持っていると思っていたので、今回建築に関しての映像を作るっていうことにあたっても、すごく親密性を感じました。ただ、やはりプロセスとしては深くて、すごく長くて、容易なものではなかったです。
So it's interesting that you mentioned that you felt each time you saw the film, you felt like you saw a little bit different film. And I think it's I'm happy for that reaction because the film is intentionally very multi-layered. There are so many layers in the film, and those layers are created through this very long and deep process, combining my own emotional imagination, as you said, how to combine the research and your own imagination to the film. So it took a long time, but it's so multi-layered because of this process that I had at the bottom of the film, I had my own Aalto experience, which was the main reason why I wanted to make the film. But then on top of that, I had to, of course, make the very, very deep research because I didn't want to make any mistakes. I wanted to all the facts be there. I wanted to, through the research, try to find the actual facts, who the Aaltos were, what they did together, and who they did with those things. And so it was very important to combine the research and my personal imagination of the Aaltos. Well, I can continue after the translation.
関本さんが映画を見るたびに違った印象を受けたっていう感想があったんですけど、それを聞いて私はすごく嬉しく思います。なぜかというと、やはりこの長くて深い、プロセスを経ていく中で、映画の中にもたくさんのレイヤーっていうのが存在していて、でその一番根底にあるのは私の、個人的な、アルトとの、体験というか、経験に基づくものなんですが、それだけではいけなくて、やはり、事実を伝えなくてはいけない、間違った情報を伝えてはいけないっていうところもありましたので、すごく、綿密にリサーチをしたりですとか、今実在しないので、イマジネーションをかき立てて、彼が実際にどういう人物だったのかっていうのを、すごく深く考察していくので、そういったたくさんのレイヤーがあるとか、いろんな面があるっていうふうに感じていただけて、とても嬉しく思います。
Yes, the main reason for me this film was my childhood, very strong childhood memory that the Aalto buildings have left on me because I grew up in Rovaniemi. You probably know Rovaniemi up north. Yes, it's my hometown and where I'm originally from. I spent 21 years in Rovaniemi, and well, the Rovaniemi is known for Santa Claus, but also for the Aalto buildings.
Yes.
So I spent most of my afternoons when I was already at school, I spent in Aalto library. And also in the music school, which was in the Aalto theater. So I spent a lot of time in the Aalto buildings as a child. And I felt that those buildings and those furnitures, those walls with those beautiful tiled brick walls and the beautiful heavy door handles and leather chairs and everything in the library, they sort of belonged to me as a citizen of the town. So those moments in the library has really left a very strong mark on me, and what I consider like beautiful and aesthetic, it really left a mark on me.
そうですね。この映画の作成にあたって私の幼少期の記憶っていうものがすごく重要な役割を果たしてくるんですが、私の故郷であるローバニアンっていうところには、アールトの建築物っていうのが未だに残っておりまして、地元の音楽学校にはシアターがあるんですが、映画を見に行くときにもそういった建築を見たりですとか、あと図書館も、私がよく行ってた図書館もアールトの残した作品でありまして、もう街を歩いているだけで家具だったり、レンガの壁だったり、あと掴むドアノブだったり、すべてがアールトの作品で、どれも美しくて、もう小さい頃の記憶にとても重要な役割を果たしています。
So the library sort of, it gave dignity to the citizens of Rovaniemi. Because as you might know, the history of Rovaniemi is quite sad. It was totally destroyed after the war. So it gave us a lot of pride, a feeling of pride and dignity. But if you think about my film, and you talked about how to combine your own image of Aalto, your imagination and the research, I think I could rely on this feeling that I had from my childhood throughout the film process. I wanted to, and then of course, when I started to research on Aalto's personality also, not just about the buildings, but on their more intimate life, I found out what sort of character he has been. He always had this very warm and charming side of him, and the love for little humans, as they said, was very, it was at the center of their architectural philosophy. And I think that I was one of those little humans that they talked about in the library. And the library was sort of a place for me that was giving me a lot of comfort in life. Also when I was sad. So I sort of, all my childhood feelings were embedded in this library memory. And I think when I was making the film, I wanted to get this sort of feeling that I've had to be present in the film as well. And I think it has to do with Aalto's personality as well. So I wanted to have this warmth and this sort of feeling of love. Well, love is a little bit banal word, but I don't know in English how to explain it otherwise. But this sort of humanistic look at things throughout the film. So even though there is a lot of research, but I wanted to have this very personal feeling throughout the film. And it comes from my own experience.
再度私の幼少期の記憶っていうところにも紐づくんですが、ロバニアにとって図書館っていうのは、消された記憶だとか、過去っていうものを、勉強するのに、その現地の人々がとても大切にしているものでありまして、それを作ったアールトなんですが、 私は小さい時に図書館に行くたびに毎回安心したりですとか、温かい気持ちになりました。で、その感覚っていうのは、きっとアールトのキャラクターにも紐づいていて、アールト自身が温かくて優しいっていう、そういう人間らしさっていうものをすごく大切にしていることが、建築物から伝わったっていうのが、幼少期に得た感覚なんですが、大人になってこのフィルムを作るにあたって、また彼について深く知るたびに自分が小さい時に感じた感覚っていうのは間違っていなかったんだなっていうふうに思いました。なので、この映画を通しても、アカデミックな内容というよりは彼の人間らしい温かみというものを表現したいと思いました。
ちょっとまたちょっと別の、今のちょうどアールトのキャラクターのことについて、ちょっと質問が出たので、お話が出たので、ちょっとその辺掘り下げたいんですけれども、その映画の中でも、アールトはとてもこう明るくて、こう人気のある、人物であったと。女の人も男の人もみんなアールトのこと好きになっちゃうみたいなね。で、一方で、それはスクリーンからもとても伝わってきたんですけど、一方で私はフィンランドで、留学した時のフィンランドの人たちのこの印象として、あの、とてもこうシャイで、初対面の人にはとても無口であったりとかするんだけど、すごく仲良くなると、すごく親密に、相手のことを受け入れるというような傾向があるような気がするんですね。で、アールトもなんかエピソードを聞くと、一説によると、あまり人に会うのが好きじゃなかったとか、事務所に人が会いに来たりすると、逃げちゃうとか、なんかそういうエピソードも聞いたりとかして、スクリーンで描かれている非常に社交的なアルトの側面と、一方であんまり人と会いたくないっていうね、なんかアルトのエピソードを聞いたりすると、アルトってどっちなんだろうなっていうふうに私はちょっと不思議に思うんですけれどもね。その辺ももしかしたらフィンランド人の、なんか国民性とかと、なんか関係があるのかなと思ったりするんですけど、そのあたりは、ビルピさんは、なんかどのようにお考えになりますか？
So through this movie, I can get the impression about his character as charming and popular and everybody likes him. But at the same time, when I was in Finland, I asked people about his character and everybody say he's a shy person, he's introverted. So when somebody tried to talk to him, he kind of avoid to talk. And then once he gets very comfortable, and that's when he finally being social. So through the movie, I got the feeling that he's have a social character, but at the same time, from my experience, he have an anti-social type of personality. So what do you feel like? Which one is the his real personality? What do you think?
Well, I think in every one of us, there is this extrovert and introvert side.
Yes.
Depending on the moment, I think it's in every one of us. But I think he has mostly been described as a very outgoing extrovert, a little bit selfish personality too, but he wanted to charm people and he was very good at charming. He was very skillful with that and also with the clients. So I think in his office, at the later years, he was a little bit more introvert perhaps, and he wanted to. It was Elisa more or less who had the closer connection to the other architects in the office. And she was the intermediator between Alvar and the other architects. But that's for the later years. But I think when Aalto was younger and at his top of his career, I think he can be described more as an extrovert and really willing to charm everyone. And as he said that, like with the clients, you have to punch them to the stomach to get the project for you. So he was sort of a personality, I think, more.
そうですね。やはり人間みんな 社交的な部分と、やはり内にこもりたい部分、両面性持っているかと思うんですが、彼に関しては若い時はすごく社交的で、どちらかというと行き過ぎてちょっと自己中心的な側面も見受けられたと聞いています。ただ、後、人生を重ねていくと、重ねていくにつれて、もうちょっと内向的な側面が多く見られるような、感じで感じています。なぜかというと、そのオフィスの中にも、他の建築家の方と話すために仲介者を雇ったりなどをしていたので、人生の最後の方には、やはりちょっと内向的な部分も感じられるのかもしれないですが、活躍していた頃っていうのは、クライアントさんに関しても、街の人に関しても、すごく、社交的な面っていうのが彼の中には見えると私は感じています。
なるほど。Thank you so much.
I
ちょっ
just
と、
I,
どうぞ、
I think
please.
that yes, one of the well, I had a lot of different archives, but one of the most important archives, well, of course, the Aalto family archives, but also the Aalto biographers, Göran Schilds, who did the Aalto biography. I got the recorded tapes when he met people who actually knew Aaltos when they were younger and even had met Aino Aalto. So those tapes were really valuable for the film because those people had actually been there. They were the first-hand witnesses, sort of. So not just researchers, but people who actually have been in New York with them or wherever. So I think those tapes were one of the most important resources and archives for the film. But as you said about the film being different each time, I think it's because of these. There are so many archives used in the film, so different from the different decades also. There are researchers, there are these first-hand witnesses, there are film archives, photo archives. So it was a huge work to combine all these and make sort of the picture of them from all these resources and sources. So yeah, I think there can be different interpretations also, who is talking, and then you have to just try to make a picture of all those testimonies. You have to try to make conclusions.
そうですね。今回このフィルムに関しては様々な人たちからのレポートだったり報告、また、彼が若かった当時に一緒に住んでいた現地の方などの、映像だったりとかも使っているんですが、関本さんが最初におっしゃっていたように、映画見るたびに違う印象を受けるっていうのも、その映画中のどの方の感想にフォーカスを当てるかによって、彼の印象っていうのもすごく変わってくると思うので、そういった数多くのアーカイブも、注目して楽しんでいただけたら嬉しいと思います。
うん。なるほど。まさにちょっと独身に近づいてきたので、一つここで一つ聞きたいんですが、聞きたいというか、私の感想になるんですけども、今回の映画を見て、もう一つすごく感じたのは、まさしくそのビルピ監督の目線に貫かれたアールトの映画であるってことなんですけれども、それは何かというと、アイノの目線から見たアルバールトっていう印象を強く受けたんですね。これはタイトルは、アールト、ということ、アルバールトのことを描いているように見えて、実はこれはアイノの映画なんじゃないかという印象を強く受けたんですね。で、アールトという、アルバールトの建築家は、とても私にとってはミステリアスで、人物像が定まらないんですけれども、だけれども、それはどの目線で見るかによって、彼は非常に明るいキャラクターであったり、非常に気難しかったり、偉大な建築家であったり、いろんな見え方があって、いろんな人がそれぞれのアールトの、見方を持っているんですね。アールトはいろんな顔を持っているっていうふうに私は思っていて。この映画を見て思うのは、すごくこの映画は、 アイノの目線から貫かれてる映画で、それは、ヴィルピ監督の思い入れが、共感がアイノに向いてるように感じたんですね。ですから、この映画を見た日本人の女性は非常にアイノにシンパシーを感じていて、映画を見た後の SNS のコメントを見るとですね、みんなアイノのことばっかり書くんですよね。これが不思議な話で、だからこれはなんかすごく、ビルピ監督の目線で貫かれた愛のアールトの映画っていうふうにね、私はちょっと思ったんですよね。それについてなんか、いかがでしょうか。
So I kind of have a strong feeling about this movie. So in my opinion, this movie is a Ainol's point of view through your eyes. So it says arts movie, but it's how art looks like from Ainol's point of view. And then you try to figure out how she look at him. So I can't figure out. I have a different feeling each time I watch the movie, but it's because he has different faces. Like he's shy, outgoing, and great person as an architect, but also very loving person as a partner in the relationship between Aino. And then I see a lot of Japanese people, especially women, after the watching the movie, they have very sympathy with Aino's feeling. So I feel like you was more focusing on Aino's point of view. What do you think about this opinion?
I'm first of all, I'm happy that point of view comes through in the film. It's kind of interesting that in Finland, well, people were really pleased to know more about Aino Aalto as well, because we haven't even here realized how important part she had played in the Aalto, in creating the Aalto basic grammar, the tool package sort of for the architecture and interiors and design. But at the same time, I got some critics here in Finland that I hadn't put enough, or my point of view wasn't enough on Aino's point of view. So it's interesting to see Japan, it's the vice versa. I think it's really interesting. Well, for me, it was really, really important to put Aino and also Elissa Aalto in the story, because, well, if you think about the contemporary world, we have to try to see the full picture. So it was very important to put more spotlight on Aino as well. But there isn't so many archives on Aino. So that's why the family archives were really essential for the project. The letters, the family photos, the 8mm films. And only recently there has been done research on Aino Aalto's role. And now she has really, people are really interested in what she had done in Artek and so on. She was a really remarkable modern architect. And she had these multiple identities. But nevertheless, there are no sound recordings of her. So I really had to, get everything I could on her. But still, she stays a sort of a mystery in a way, because I just have those sources, and that's that. And then I have to sort of imagine the rest and rely on what the researchers have done. But I'm happy to hear that the Japanese audience gets this emancipation, this more feministic point of view. But it's not, I'm a documentarist. I never do films which are sort of teaching something or moralizing people. I want to describe the human beings. And I just it wasn't like a big agenda that now I have to have Aino's role more in this film. I just put what I found. So it's not something that I wish that I found, but I just used the materials that I found and that are also based on research. So it's not something that I invented for the film. But I'm happy to hear that there is this sort of feministic interpretation in Japan. I'm really happy about that.
そうですね。フィンランドでも、アイヌに関する意見っていうのはいくつか出ていて、私自身びっくりしてます。で、びっくりしている理由っていうのが、私はドキュメンタリーの映画を作るっていう上で、みんなのいろんな人の、アーカイブをフェアにこう取り入れていきたいというところがありまして、ただ、アイヌに関してはアーカイブが他の人に比べてとても少なかったので、自分の中ではミステリーな女性っていうところで留まっているんですが、日本の方々の意見も同様、フィンランドの方たちもすごくアイヌに共感を示している人が多かったので、そこに関しては自分も驚いているところではあります。ただ、個人的にはそのアイヌにフォーカスしてるっていうよりは、アルトっていう人物をそのままドキュメンタリーとして、こう示していく中で、アーカイブをできるだけ集めた結果がこの映画になったっていう形になります。
なるほど。そのアルトの人間性、アルトがどういう人であったかを、描く手法の一つに、今回の映画でとても重要なシーンだと思うんですけども、この手紙のお互いのそのアイノとアルトの手紙のやり取りをこう公開されていましたですよね。あれがすごくそのアイノとアルトの非常にこうパーソナルな部分が見えて、とても身近に感じたんですね。で、アルトのとても人間臭い面が見えて、とても面白かった。素朴な、これ素朴なクエスチョンで、あのようなプライバシーの高い、手紙をですね、あの、よく手に入れられたなっていうのがね、すごく映画を見て、非常に貴重な資料だったと思うんですけど、ああいったアルトファミリーからあのような資料をいただくのに相当苦労したんじゃないかと思うんですが、ちょっと映画の裏側の話だと思うんですけどね。そのあたりの話をちょっとお聞かせいただきたいんですが。
So in this movie, I saw there were tons of letters exchanges between Aalto and Aino, and that was very high privacy resources. So I imagine it would be hard to get those letters as a references. So I would like to know how hard to get those resources.
Well, as I said, it took quite a long time to make the film. So I realized from the beginning that I have to, first of all, create the web of researchers, but also get in contact with the Aalto family and different foundations who have these private sources. And well, it took like a year and a half. Perhaps I was having contact with the Aalto family, the Aalto grandsons, and I started negotiating of getting access to the family archives. So it took a while to get their trust for me and for the project. But of course, I've made quite many films in Finland, so they knew me as a filmmaker. So I think that was the first step. And then when we got to know each other better, they started little by little trusting me. And I remember the moment when Aalto's grandson came to my office. He opened the back of his car, and there was this big brown box full of letters. And he brought it to my office, and I started reading those letters with my assistant. And then I knew, that was the moment I knew that I'm going to make the film. Because from the start, I knew I didn't want to make only a film about architecture, Aalto architecture for professionals, for other architects. Or I wanted to make a film that would work for anyone. And that's why those archives where I could get closer to Aino to Aalto, their dynamics together, how they worked together as architects, what were their more private thoughts, how they were these modern human beings in the 20s and 30s in different areas of life, also in their sexuality or I mean, their attitudes. They were modern people in every aspect of life, not only in architecture. So that was something that I got from those letters. So, and also from the photo albums. Aalto was a skillful photographer. She had got a lot of influence from Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, the Bauhaus artist, and they got very close friends. So yes, those family archives were really, they were the key for the whole film, because otherwise it would have been just an academic research film on the Aalto architecture. I needed to have that soul, that core for the whole film, and that came out from the letters.
そうですね。手紙にたどり着くまではすごい長い道のりがありまして、全体ではだいたい1年から1年半もの歳月を要しました。これらのアーカイブを手に入れるのにリサーチャーだったりですとか、あと彼の家族と、あと友人に、インタビューをしたりですとか、協力を求めたんですが、やはり信用を得るまでにすごく時間がかかったんですが、ラッキーなことに自分がフィンランド人であることで、フィンランド出身の、フィルムメーカーであることっていうことと、私が本当にアールトのことを好きなことっていうのを、彼らがだんだんと理解してくれて、徐々に信用を得ることができて、で、私が忘れられない日っていうのが、そのアールトの友人がオフィスに来まして、車のトランクにいっぱいの手紙を持ってきた日、それが私が忘れられない日ですね。で、それまではその映画っていうのは本当にアカデミックな内容になりかねないところだったんですが、このたくさんの手紙のおかげで彼のモダンな人間性だったりとか、セクシャリティ、人格っていうところを手紙を通して垣間見ることができたので、本当にこの映画の中での手紙っていうものは重要な異なるものですね。
もう本当にこれまで全く僕もアールトが好きでいろんな資料を見ましたけれども、見たことないような資料、手紙、そのホリナジの映像、本当にそれを目の前にね、差し出してくださって本当にありがとうございましたと言いたいですね。これ日本のアールトファンを代表して言いたいと思います。どうもありがとうございます。
I've been researching a lot about Aalto, but I never seen letters. I never seen the research that shows how his personality was. So as a nerd of Aalto, I really, really appreciate what you've done. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that. And actually, that process led to a book also that the Aalto's grandson then sort of, through the film process, he got inspired to collect the letters, and now there is a book with those letters. So I'm really happy that it sort of inspired him to complete this dream of his that he had been thinking about, and we worked closely together. So it was really really nice that there is a book also now of those letters. But what I think in the film, it's really important to have these layers, that there is this intimate layer where we can really dive on their relationship and on their thinking, of their private talk. And then there is this professional layer, and combining all these archive images together with these different levels, intimate and professional levels, that makes the film so multi-layered. And as you said in the beginning, that it's when you think about the historical characters, it's very demanding, very challenging to make a film about people who are no longer here, who are idolized, who are like iconic characters. And then if you make a film about those characters and buildings and objects, it's how to make a film about sort of things that are not moving anymore, how to make a film, because film is like architecture in time in a way. So how to take all the dust away from those materials. So we really had to use all our imagination to make a film that is organic and flowing and fluid. And of course, it has to do with the editing and with the sound design and music and everything, how to combine all these materials. It took quite a long time. So yeah, I'm really happy for my colleagues. My editor did a fantastic job in combining all these materials together. It was a very big job for him, I think.
そうですね。最初に関本さんがおっしゃっていた、様々なレイヤーがあるように感じるっていうところにもつながってくるのですが、彼のプライベートな部分のレイヤーだと、プロフェッショナルとしてのレイヤーっていうものを、そのたくさんのアーカイブから読み取ることができたんですが、この手紙を集めるというプロセスの中で、その手紙を集めた書籍っていうものも発売されることになって、私としてはこの映画作成が導いた別のその成果物っていうものもとても嬉しく思いますし、あとは、これも杉本さんが最初におっしゃっていた通り、いたように、歴史的の人物、歴史上の人物のような感覚がするっておっしゃっていましたが、実際に私ももう実在しない方、どれだけリアルに描き出せるかっていうところにすごく苦労しました。で、その中でこの手紙っていうものと自分のイマジネーションっていうものを掛け合わせたことで、よりリアルな、アールトの人物感というものを表現することができたのではないかなと思います。またチームの皆さんも音楽やデザイン、そして手紙だったりアーカイブといった様々な資料を掛け合わせて、このフィルムを作るのに、携わっていただけて本当に感謝しています。
はい、ありがとうございます。ちょっと映画の、演出のことについてもちょっといろいろお聞きしたいんですけども、映画を見てとても美しい映画で、それをとにかく下支えしているのが、まず一つは音楽ですね。フィンランドでもその音楽で賞を取られたというふうに聞きましたけれども、全編を通して流れてくる音楽がとてもフィルムにちょっとフィットしていて、とてもストーリーがダイレクトに入ってきたんですよね。なんかその音楽を、つけるにあたってお考えになったこととか、苦労したこととか、あったらお聞きしたいんですけれども。
So I could tell the music plays a lot of important role through this movie, and I also heard that you received award based on the music. So and then I personally feel that music helps him to understand the story more easily, more clearly. So I would like to know what makes you what did you work on harder to choose the music or work involved with the music?
The music is composed by Sanna Salmenkallio. It's a female composer that I worked with many films. So we have worked together for a long time. And well, she's one of the top film composers here in Finland. And as I said, that it's a challenging task to make buildings, objects, and people who are dead alive in the film. So we knew that the music and the sound design have to be very carefully thought and strong. So this music is composed very carefully for this film, for this particular film. And also the sound designer had a very important role because he took some of the music and then he did some tricks on the music. So they worked very closely together, and we also had some avant-gardist experimentation and play in the Aalto spirit, making the score. because we brought some Aalto objects like the Aalto vase, the flower vase, or some pieces of marble and wood to the sound studio, and they were playing with those things, and the sound Foley artist was playing with the Aalto vase with the bow. He was like a violin, you know, he was playing the Aalto vase, and then he recorded the reflection of the sound, and then the sound designer embedded those sounds along with the music. So it's very rich, multi-layered score for the film, and it's so carefully thought. Every piece, I mean, and every bit is so carefully put there. So it was a huge work, but it was fantastic. There were some great jazz musicians in the studio improvising, like the drummer, for example. We just had a one studio day with one drummer who did different sorts of drumming, and then we embedded that with the other music, and yeah, it was very playful process as well. I think, like Aalto would have been. He was a very playful person, which I tried to remember that along the process, that how would Aalto do this? I mean, how the Aalto spirit would be along with what we are doing. And that was something that inspired us a lot, this playfulness as well.
私が長いこと一緒にお仕事させていただいているフィルムミュージックを作るコンポーザーの方がいるんですが、その方には亡くなってしまった方をもう今生きているかのような、生き返らせているようなミュージックが欲しいというふうに伝えましたし、この作成の中ではすごくアールトらしい音楽の作り方っていうのができたんではないのかなと思います。っていうのは、アールトはすごい遊び心のある方だったんですが、この音楽作成に関しても遊び心を忘れないっていうところを大切にしていて、アルトバスを弓で弾いて、その反響を取ったりですとか、ドラムの演奏者の方を一日スタジオでドラムで遊んでもらって、本当に遊び心あるプロセスだったと思っていて、本当にこのミュージック、音楽の作成に関しては、素晴らしいチームで音楽を作ることができて、本当に嬉しく思いますし、アールトのスピリットを感じるには、どういった音楽の作り方があるかなって考えたんですが、やはり遊び心っていうのがすごくキーにあるので、楽しみながら音楽を作れたことっていうのはすごく今も心に残っています。
Great.
Because Aalto was he was not a theoretic person. He was not an academic personality. He was very intelligent, but very playful person also. And he respected sort of the child in himself as well. So I think that was something that was really important for me also, that the film, every aspect in the film, it has to be intelligently done. There has to be a very careful research, but there has to be a lot of warmth and playfulness also in the film. So it was very important for me to understand these sides of his character, and also from Aino's character, in order to try to put those features in the film, in the spirit of the film, in the feeling of the film as well.
繰り返しにはなりますが、この映画作成に関して私がすごく気を使ったのが、アールトのスピリットを表現する、アールトのスピリット、魂を大事にするっていうところにありまして、で彼はそのアカデミックで真剣、真面目っていうよりは、すごく遊び心があって、インテリジェントで温かい心がある人っていうところが、真にあるので、そこを忘れないっていうところを大事にしたので、それがいろんな部分で映画の中で垣間見ることができるかなと思います。
本当にアールトの魅力っていうのは、その本当にこの自由の感性、プロオブフリーダムっていう感じで、そこが僕は本当大好きなので、 映画の中からも本当にそういったことがたくさん感じることができたのが、あの映画、本当に、楽しかったところですね。一方のその今音楽のみならず、当然映像の方にもそういった、ビルピー監督の、遊び心がすごく溢れているように感じたんですね。例えば、僕すごくあの映画で一番好き、とても好きなシーンがあるんですけども、あの、ビープリライブラリーで、子供たちが、あの、手すりをこう撫でながらこう遊んでいる姿と、先生が、子供たちにビープリライブラリーのことを、こう、教えてるところとか、なんかすごくこの若い、子供たちにアールトの建築が受け継がれてるような感じも受けて、すごく優しい気持ちになったりですね。あと、すごくシーンとして美しかったのが、パイミオサナトリウムで、ドローンカメラをこう上空から飛ばしてですね、真っ白いこの雪景色の中に、こう、雲の中からスーッとこう、ドローンが降りてきて、パイミオサナトリウムのこう前景が見えてくるシーンなんかはもう鳥肌が立ったというか、本当に素晴らしい映像で涙が出そうになりましたね。本当にそういう独創的なカメラワークっていうのも、今回の映画、本当に僕は感動したところです。
So what I love about Aalto was he's a person with full of freedom. And the a favorite part about a movie, favorite scene from the movie is kids running around in the library attaching stairs handles and elder people teaching his spirit through the architecture. That's very unforgettable scenes to me. And also the camera work where the drone fly from the class and then film in the snow underneath. It was like a world, a very surprise and forgettable scenes from the movie.
Mm, mm. Well, for me too, it was very touching in the Viborg Library to see those children. We were just doing the research, and I was visiting the library for the first time. We were not filming yet, but I saw those school children in the library, and they were so amazed of the library, and they were taught about the Aaltos there, and I knew immediately that I want to have that sort of school class in the film. And so I arranged another school class to come when we were filming and then it was very moving for me to see how their hands were on the handrail. They touched the handrails when they were going down the stairs. So it really reminded me of my own memory from my childhood, how I was touching everything in the library. Because in the Aalto architecture, I think the tactility, how you want to touch everything, the materials, and that was something that Aino Aalto had a big part in the interiors. That was so important part of the experience. So that moved me also a lot. And as for Paimio Sanatorium, I think it was kind of interesting to show it during the winter because it was like a little bit like a ghost town. It was more surprising to show it in the summertime. What was unfortunate was that at that time when we were filming at Paimio, the interior part was sort of closed because there was some like a children's retreat and we couldn't go there to film there. So that's why we used some archive pictures. But nowadays the Paimio Sanatorium is open for public again. So I'm thinking of maybe going there again and adding some new pictures for the film because it's so great inside, all the colors and so on. But yeah, I think that's part of the difficulty of making an architectural film, and especially in Aalto's case, how to make those spaces like feel alive, how to make them like when you are experiencing them when you go inside a building. And that's why those Viborg Library children were so important, that you sort of got the feeling how to be inside the building. What is the atmosphere of the building? So, and I think in Aalto's case, especially difficult because their buildings are not shouting at you. They are not like screaming to be noticed, like some contemporary buildings, perhaps some wow architecture buildings are. They are more subtle. They are more, they are not so, you know, they are not shouting at you. They are more sensual. So that was part of the difficulty and the challenge to make that feel in the film. Sorry, there is someone on our door, but I will just shout my daughter to just a moment. I don't There is someone at our door.
はい。そうですね。私も子供たちが手すりで遊んでいるシーンっていうのは、すごく、感銘を受けたんですが、私自身、撮影では行ってないんですが、その子供たちが手すりを触っているのを見て、ぜひこれは映画に取り入れなくてはいけないシーンだなと思って取り入れることを決めました。で、アルトの作品の、象徴的な部分として、触りたくなるような、質感だったり形っていうのが、すごく映画の中で、この空間を実際に見てる人が本当にその場にいるような感覚にさせるにはどうしたらいいんだろうっていうことにすごくこだわりました。で、彼の建造物っていうのはすごく主張が強いというよりは静寂の中にこう優しく語りかけるようなものがあるような印象を受けるので、その図書館で出会った子どもたちっていうのはすごくこの映画の中でアールトの建造物のその温かみを表現するのにすごく大事なキーだったなと思っています。
ありがとうございます。まだまだ聞きたいことはたくさんあるんですけれども、そろそろ時間なので、じゃあ、ラストクエスチョンというか僕のオピニオンというかお願いなんですけれども、この映画を、公開が終わった後も、DVD とかで、リリースする予定なんかはありませんか？あったらぜひ、手に入れたいんですけれども、いかがでしょうか？
Thank you so much. There's still a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, but this is going to be the last question. So after this film is shown, are you planning to publish DVD or any discs that I can keep watching?
It will be in Japan, published in DVD. Do you mean that?
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, I'm really happy that the film is in Japan right now because I think it will resonate for the audience there. We have a lot in common in our aesthetics. I think how we love these sort of seemingly simple things, which are not simple indeed if you start thinking about the process behind those this sort of modest, simple design. Sometimes and very often there is a very deep process, thinking process behind that simplicity. So I think that is something that I love about the Aaltos and why it feels so timeless. And I think the Japanese audience understands that aesthetic language so well. So I really hope the film will resonate there. And I'm also happy about this feministic point of view that goes through in Japan. I really like that concept as well.
そうですね。日本に関して言えば、日本の建築とアルトの建築はすごくつながるところがありまして、滑らかでシンプルでモダンなデザインなんですが、そのシンプルなデザインの裏にすごい深い思考っていうのが凝らされていて、それはすごく日本人の方たちにも受け入れてもらいやすいところだと思います。なので、私はすごくこの映画が日本で公開されていることはもちろん DVD の出版にもつながればいいなっていうふうには 思っています。で、杉本さんがおっしゃっていた通り、日本の方々はすごくフェミニズムにも強いところがありますので、アイノのその感覚に同調できたっていう感想が多いところもきっと、通じてくれれば、DVD のつながりもつながるんじゃないかなっていうふうに願っております。
はい。はい。どうもありがとうございました。ビルピさん、本当に貴重なお時間をいただきまして、ありがとうございました。日本でもまだ公開したばかりで、まだ上映がまだ始まってない地域もあるみたいですけれども、日本のアールトファン、皆さん本当に上映を楽しみにしてますので、またこれをご覧になって、まだね、映画に足を運んでないという方は、ぜひ映画館にも足を運んでいただきたいと思います。ビルピさん、どうも本日ありがとうございました。
Thank you so much for taking your precious time. And in Japan, there's still some areas that the film is not released, but if there's any people that who never watched the movie yet, and please go to the movie theater because this is very wonderful movies. Thank you.
ありがとうございま
Mm.
す。
Kiitos paljon.
Kiitos paljon
Vilppi.
ja tervetuloa uudestaan Suomeen.
Yeah. Totta
Welcome
kai.
to Finland. I have also been to Aalto University, so it's my
Yeah.
university.
Thank you.
Okay,
So if
thank you
you
very much.
ever come to Finland, please let me know.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Bibi-san, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kimon-san,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
You can go out. Thank you.
Moi moi.
Bye-bye.
バイバイ。
どうもありがとうございます。
はい
はい、関本さん、対談を終えられての感想をお願いします。
いや、本当に始まる前はちょっと緊張してたんですけど、ビルピさん、本当にフィンランド人の女性らしい、朗らかなね、なんかカジュアルな、気さくな方で、とても話しやすかったですね。何度か試写も含めて3回ぐらい私見たんですけども、その中で感じたこういうこと聞いてみたい、なんでこうなってんだろうなとかね、そういったことを直接監督にお聞きできて、とても楽しかったですね。今回このような機会設けてくださいましてありがとうございました。